What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is Professor Anime, and welcome back to yet again another Boku no Hero Academia Season 2 episode review. This is going to be on episode 23 of Season 2 of Boku no Hero Academia. So without further ado, let's get this started. So this episode of Boku no Hero Academia takes place directly after, last week's episode, in which the practical exams are still going on. And in this episode, we focus on 3 other different pairs of students going up against their designated teacher, in which they have to fight to, pass the practical exams. But you know what? Amongst all of the fights that played out, like with Mineta, and then also the individual that can, control, animals and bugs and whatnot, amongst all of that was incorporated in the episode, I believe the fight between Team Ashido and the principal was definitely the highlight of the episode. For me, at least in my personal opinion. It was just hilarious to see, because Team Ashido really couldn't do anything at that point. They were trying to avoid getting hit by the oncoming debris that was, crashing down upon them, and while this was happening, the principal was taking out each and every other escape route that they could think of. However, he did leave one open, but because of the fact that he just kept them on the run, they had no idea where they were going until the time was up, and they ultimately failed the practical exam. And I believe they were the only pair of students that actually have failed the practical exam at this given point. So, yeah, kind of makes you wonder, what would happen if, another pair of students went up against the principal. Because, I mean, hey, everyone has won amongst the other teachers. But when it comes to the principal, it seems like he's on a whole different level. So yeah, out of all of the fights within this episode of Boku no Hero Academia, in my personal opinion, the fight between Team Ashido and the principal was personally my favorite of the entire episode, because of just on how the principal just seemed like a massive troll to them. It was just funny to see. It really was. And I think I originally said there was like 3 fights that played out in this episode of Boku no Hero Academia, but actually, I'm correcting myself here. There were actually 5 fights in total that played out in this episode. We had Ochaka versus 13, Mineta versus Midnight, the principal versus Team Ashido, Jiro and Koda versus the speaker guy, and then also the guy that looks like the bat, who can duplicate himself. He went up against the gunslinger. So actually there was a total of like 5 fights that played out in this episode of Boku no Hero Academia. Let me know your personal thoughts on what your favorite fight was. Oh man, but next week's episode of Boku no Hero Academia is going to be fantastic. Like, I'm ready for that. I am ready for the upcoming fight between Deku, Bakugo versus All Might. That fight is going to be insane, because it was great in the manga. And, the funny thing about this is that, speaking of the manga, when it comes to the fight between Deku, Bakugo, and All Might, their fight is technically already over. What the anime is doing right here, they have been saving this fight for one entire episode, because they know that the audience, is going to get hyped just by this fight alone. That's why we have been seeing the other characters actually, go about their fights before we actually get to the main event, if you will, because in the manga, the fight is already over. What the anime has been doing here has been setting up each fight one by one by one. But in the manga, their fight actually takes place amongst other students' fights that are currently going on in the area. So that is like the only difference that the manga and the anime have at the moment, but other than that, they've pretty much been adapting everything to a T. And honestly, what I think they're doing here is the right decision, because what they're doing here is just getting us ready for the main event. We're gonna get the other, students out of the way as we prepare for the main event, and that is exactly what's going to happen in next week's episode, as the whole fight is technically going to take place between Deku, Bakugo, and All Might, and that is what is going to be awesome. And I mean, we also have another episode after that fight, so maybe, the fight could be longer. Who knows? Who knows? Because I'm not exactly sure on how they're going to end off this season of Boku no Hero Academia, but from what they've been doing a good job, and I think they made a good decision on how they wanted to adapt that scene. So yeah, let me know your overall thoughts of this episode of Boku no Hero Academia in the comments down below. Be sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and hit that red subscribe button down below if you want to see more from me in the future. And with that said, everyone, thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.